Welcome back to the show. It's Beyond Reality Radio with Jason and JV. Again, the phone number, write it down, 844-687-7669. We'll take your phone calls later in the program. But right now, we need to introduce our guest for the evening. Cindy McGill is a dream interpreter. Her website is cindymcgill.org, and her book is called What Your Dreams Are Telling You, Unlocking Solutions While You Sleep. Cindy, welcome to Beyond Reality Radio. It's great to have you back on the show.
Oh, thanks. It's good to be here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to talk with you.
So we've got a short segment here, but it's enough time for you to let anybody who might not have heard you on the program before know who you are and exactly what you do.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, I'm a dream interpreter. Love to do it. It seems like that right now, especially at the end of the year, people are just in a lot of change, and that just stimulates a lot of dreams, and messages often comes through dreams, direction dreams and warning dreams. And so we just try and put a second pair of eyes on it, to be able to give some insight or maybe a perspective that maybe wasn't evident, in a dream. So it's always a challenge and a fun thing for us to interpret dreams. We've been doing this for a long time. Different festivals, Burning Man, Sundance Film Festival. We've even been to the adult conventions. We just try and hit places where we think that people are maybe needing some direction or possibly, they're just in a place of even identity. A lot of times dreams will tell us kind of who we are, what we're doing, or changes that have gone on in our lives, or how we're evolving into a new, arena or area of our life, or sphere of influence, I guess.
And at what point in your life did dream interpretation become a focus?
Probably a real focus would be around the early 90s. It seemed like we were, my husband and I both were just dreaming like crazy, and we knew that these were just not pizza dreams. You know what I'm saying? Like they were something that really had a message hidden or interwoven in the dream we were receiving at night. So I think it piqued our interest. I've been a dreamer my whole life, even from an early, little girl. I can remember having dreams of swimming underwater long distances and never having to come up for air. So I didn't know what that meant. I was excited to always have it, but I realized later on that I was kind of seeing things that are not on the surface. I was exploring deep things, or things that were took a little bit more effort, or were hidden or submerged. So, and that's been my life. It feels like I just kind of go below the surface level and explore maybe deeper or more hidden messages, in my own life, too. So it's been cool. Flying dreams.
Yeah,
you name it.
There's so many, and we're going to talk about all of those when we come back from the bottom of the hour break here. We're going to actually break things down quite a bit, get an idea of actually what dreams are, because I think we all take them for granted, and I think there's a lot more to our dreams than we actually give credit to our minds or wherever the information is coming from. There's a lot to it, so we're going to break that down. Don't forget the phone number, 844-687-7669. We'll open the phone lines to calls in just a little bit, and we'll be taking also calls for our psychic experiment a little later in the program.
Absolutely. And there's also that whole aspect about trying to remember your dreams, because you dream every night, but most of the time you just don't remember them. And we want to get into a little of that, of how we can actually focus ourselves to remember what our dreams were, what dream we had that night, and then make it easier to actually figure out what it's trying to tell us. All right, so again, the phone number is 844-687-7669, toll free at 844-687-7669. We're going to take a real quick break here on Beyond Reality Radio. More to come after this.
And welcome back to the show. Tonight we're talking about dreams and the interpretation of those dreams. Our guest is Cindy McGill. She's been on the program before, and we're happy to have her back. And Cindy, I want to start this segment off by kind of breaking this down a little bit. And I know this might seem like a very, very rudimentary question, but let's ask it anyway, and let's talk about it. What exactly is a dream?
That's a good question. the dreams that I think about or would describe would be a night message, a message when you're in a REM cycle of sleep, and all of a sudden you're like a movie goes off inside your head, and it's something that you didn't necessarily reach for. It reached for you, and there's some sort of a message in it. I remember, people can have night visions also, so that's something to consider, because a vision is different than a dream, in my opinion. I think a dream needs an interpretation. There's symbolic things in it. There's picture language. There's one thing can represent another. With a vision, it's what you see is what you get. And you can also have night visions. You can have them in the day, also just sitting at a desk, or when you're in a peaceful place, you can actually have a literal vision where you, once again, see something of a movie, or would look like something that you didn't make up on your own. But dreams have an interpretation. They need to have the symbols broken down. They need to be able to have someone say, well, this represents this. For instance, if you're in your dream at night, dreaming, and you're driving a car that you don't currently own, then that has a message. There's a reason why you're driving a different type of a vehicle. And I kind of put it together like a puzzle. You have to have all the pieces together in order to make the picture. And then when you see the picture, you just identify what you see, and then what is the focus of the dream? What is the primary message? What's speaking to you the loudest? What is it that your your eye goes to first, and then everything unfolds from there.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a minute. I want to go back to this science of dreams, and I know that that's not necessarily the way you approach it, but I think it's worth talking about. Is dreaming simply a physical process in our brain? Is it biological, or is it something that is spiritual or divinely inspired, or is it a bridge to maybe another dimension, or is it all of the above?
It's all of the above. I think so. And I approach it more from a spiritual aspect, because I believe that we ignore that too much. But everyone dreams. I mean, most of our life, we spent how many, 1/3 of our life dreaming, So there is a reason to pay attention to it. There is a valid point to us being able to dream. And, I look back from a spiritual perspective, and I think of divine guidance. I think of how often we've been directed or guided in dreams, even from the earliest days. If we look at it from a spiritual perspective, we can consider the Bible and say that, people were divinely directed in dreams all the way through. And then even to the book of Revelation, that whole thing was a vision. So I believe that there are just things that we don't know. There are things that we just don't have access to. So when we're peaceful and we're sleeping and we're not fighting and we're trying to just rest, that's when a message can be the strongest and sometimes the most informative and directional for us at that time.
You had mentioned that everybody dreams. There are a lot of people, and Jason, you brought this up before the break. There are a lot of people that either swear they don't dream or simply have no recollection of the dreaming process from the night before or from any point. What's happening there? Yeah,
I hear that a lot. We've interpreted all over the world, and people say, I just don't dream. And it's not, scientifically you are dreaming. In order to... Most of the time I find that when people say, I just don't dream, or I don't remember my dreams, or that kind of thing, my suggestion is always, you need to consider it as a valid source of information. If you value it, if you believe in and you begin to pay attention to dreaming, or even put your mind in a place of being able to possibly receive a dream, then it'll activate it. And I've seen it happen over and over again where I'm staying at someone's house and they're like, I never dream, or I don't remember my dreams, or whatever. And I go, well, you need to pay attention to them, or give it space, give it a place to possibly to awaken you, so to speak, for that possibility of a message. The very next morning, or maybe a day later, they'll come and say, oh my gosh, I had this dream. And this part of me now is awakened, and here's my dream. And sure enough, it was a message that was directional for them, and it really helped them out in their spot in life right then. So that seems to be the simplest way to help people jumpstart their dreams, or their dream life. And then if they say, I don't remember my dreams, well, even if you awaken in a moment and you keep a pad and paper or your phone by the bed or something, and you just record even one little element of the dream, it's almost like a recall system that will go back, I found, and you remember a symbol that was in the dream or something that you can remember, and then all of a sudden it's like the whole reel plays out again in your awaking hours.
Well,
so,
and you said it correctly. The scientific fact that we all do dream, but there's also proof to show that if you don't remember your dream within the first 60 seconds of waking up, you sort of lose that memory. Correct?
Yeah, and that's why I think if you can just almost like reach out in your spirit, in your mind, and grab onto an element. What was it? Was it a fire? Was it a car? Was it a person? Was someone or something you recognize? And again, write that down or make a conscious effort to think, okay, it was about, or it had this symbol in it, or it had, and then I believe that it starts to awaken the whole dream. Like because you'll start to think, okay, well, why was that car? Why was that house? Why was that person in my dream? And then all of a sudden, other things start to come back into it. And sometimes, you start that process, and you'll either start to remember that dream that you had, or the next night you'll have a dream and you'll remember more of the dream you have the next night. And pretty soon you're building. It's like exercising, like a muscle, like something begins to activate. And then pretty soon you're receiving a lot of important or very pivotal messages that, and I noticed that especially now, that's one reason why I love December, because December, a lot of people begin to start dreaming again when they haven't, maybe all year, or remembering their dreams all year, because they're in a change. There's a shift. There's a new assignment. People are moving. They're transitioning. There's something going on, and we're getting ready to enter into a brand new year. So that is my suggestion, and that's what I've seen work, honestly, with people. And we haven't done dream studies or any of that, but we have kind of followed people around that have told us, I don't remember my dream, I don't know what and we've given them these little tips to start, and pretty soon they're now solid dreamers. I mean, they're paying attention, they're validating it, they're giving it a place to speak to them.
Well, it's funny because there's times that there'll be days that I can't recall a dream, or weeks I can't recall a dream, but there'll be times that I'll have a dream, I'll wake up, and it's almost like a storyboard. The next night I'll go to sleep and somehow connect into where I left off in that dream.
Yep.
And that'll happen sometimes, and it's really interesting when that happens. It's almost as if you're able to put yourself back into this movie, and that you were only halfway through.
I know, and it's fun. It's almost like a journey. It's like some kind of an adventure. I used to have those too. I would have a dream where I was always getting the last seat in a first-class airplane, but it would never get off the ground. It only got about maybe 100 feet off the ground, and I kept thinking, it's going to, the wings of the plane are going to take out trees. They're going to take off rooftops. We'd go under underpasses, all this kind of weird stuff. And I was having this dream over and over and over again. And I was in the process of creating a documentary on dreams for the film festivals. And I shared this dream. I just said, this is the funniest dream. I just keep having this, and it never gains altitude. And someone who was listening to me share the dream said, well, you need a new pilot. And I thought, oh, my gosh, I need someone else directing this thing in order to get it the height that it needs to go. And that's exactly what happened. We had someone who was helping us create this documentary, but they just didn't have the skill to do it. And I needed to get someone else who could drive this thing, who could get it to the altitude that it needed to go. So it was an adventure dream for me. It was like, there's something to it, it's got to go higher.
Right.
Than what we're doing.
Right. We're talking with Cindy McGill. By the way, her website is cindymcgill.org. Her book is What Your Dreams Are Telling You, Unlocking Solutions While You Sleep. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to open up our phone lines in just a little bit. So write down the phone number, 844-687-7669. It's Beyond Reality Radio with Jason and JV. Don't go away.
Very much.
And tonight we're talking with Cindy McGill, who is a dream interpreter. And we're talking about dreams. We're going to be opening up the phone lines. If you've got something that you want to have interpreted, talked about, whatever, questions, it doesn't matter. We'll take your calls in the next hour. Cindy's website is cindymcgill.org. There's a lot of information there, a lot of things you can check out. Also, her book is What Your Dreams Are Telling You, Unlocking Solutions While You Sleep. And Cindy, we were talking about the mechanics of dreaming earlier in the discussion. And, one of the things that's always, I guess, I've been curious about is when people dream about things that are triggered during the course of a day, and that night they start dreaming about that. Do you feel that there's a message related to that, or is that just a circumstantial dream just because you happen to be influenced or stimulated by something during your day?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I call it, I kind of call it flushing the toilet, so to speak. It's like, you've got all these things going on, and it's just a way to relieve or get rid of some of the activity that went on that really was taking you down, bogging you down, or just, so that you can just move on. I mean, sometimes there's significance in a dream related to an activity that you've had or done during the day. But for the most, unless it's really like sticking with you and it won't let go of you, I think it's pretty much you're just kind of flushing it out. You're just kind of unloading. It's like our minds are overloaded on with a file, and we just start dumping things out, to make room for other things.
Kind of a house cleaning, a mind cleaning, if you will.
Yeah.
Why is it that sometimes when we're faced with problems in life, and we've only got a couple minutes here before we have to go to our top of the hour break, but why is it when we're faced with challenges in our lives, during the day we're struggling with these things, but then you can have a dream and it all just seems so clear while you're dreaming about it, but then you return to your struggles the next day?
Yeah. Well, peace, when you're at peace, that's when you're going to be the most receptive to receive an answer. Because we struggle with our things and we try and get things and we get worked up, so to speak. But if you'll notice, when you're peaceful, when you're sleeping, you're not fighting. You're not trying to make it happen. You're not trying to strive to get an answer. You're just at a peaceful place where something can be communicated to us that will make a difference. And I can take that from even from a biblical perspective when Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus, had 3 dreams how to keep Jesus alive, when Mary was pregnant. It's Christmas time, so we can talk about that. But he was struggling what to do. What do I do with her? She's pregnant. I'm supposed to put her away publicly, this kind of stuff. And yet when he was dreaming, he got specific instruction on what to do and how to make things happen. And we've heard this from a number of people when they've been in business situations or they've been in, transition. Then when you're sleeping, you get clarity. You get the ability to see things for what they really are, and you're not striving to do it. And your thoughts don't enter in as well.
Well, and I can totally agree with that. I know we got to take a break in just a few seconds, but I do a lot of woodworking and so forth. And sometimes I'll be in the garage and I'll have a hard time thinking about how to do something or create a certain thing, and I'll fall asleep. And the weirdest thing is, a lot of times I'll get the answer there. It'll click on how exactly I'm supposed to do it. Get up the next day, go out and do it, and that's and it works out. So it's amazing. It's just one of those things. You're thinking too hard during the day, and at night it's free flowing and it comes to you. So it's amazing how that happens.
All right, so we're going to open up the phone lines for folks that want to call in and talk with Cindy McGill in our next hour. So the number is 844-687-7669.
All right, so if you have any question, again, 844-687-7669. Any questions on dreams, give us a call. You're listening to Jason and JV Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
But tonight we're talking about dreams, and we're talking about the interpretation of those dreams. What do they mean? What are they trying to tell us? And we have a whole bunch of people on hold waiting to talk to our guest, Cindy McGill. And Cindy, again, thanks for joining us. We've had you on the program before, and it's always a pleasure having you on, and we appreciate you being on tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I always like coming on.
So we're going to get to the phone calls in just a minute, but before we get there, is there a code or some type of standardized way to interpret dreams, or is it more along the lines, and I think I heard you kind of touch on this earlier, that you have to look at the big picture before you can really determine what a dream might be saying to a person?
Yeah. To me, it's like puzzle. You have to put all the pieces together. We kind of start with certain things. I used to have people say, well, what's a swimming pool mean in a dream? And I thought, well, in context of what? I mean, are you in a backyard, or are you in the pool, or, that kind of thing? Because it can represent different things, or it may not have the significance that you think it does until we get the whole dream and get the whole picture.
So you need to know more of the story before you can honestly answer that sort of a question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to our phone lines. Let's start bringing some of these folks in. This is Lynn from Pittston. I believe it's Pennsylvania. Hey, Lynn, welcome to Beyond Reality Radio. Great to have you on.
Thank you.
You're on with Cindy McGill. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to just discuss the dreams that I have. Regular dreams, they're all scrambled up, but there are dreams that are very specific, very clear, and you need interpretation. When I was younger, they were stronger. As you get older, maybe it's different. I don't know, but I've been able to. I'm sorry, I just get tensed up about it. I haven't even thought of it until I heard the station tonight. But I have. For years, been able to know when people are going to die. I dream about cracking teeth or wedding dresses. I got all this that type of thing. I've also had warning.
Yes.
I had a dream. The whole dream was told to me in a dream the night before it happened. The whole dream. I've never been able to get over that. So in detail, and the next day, I went out with this. I was very young, and I was asked for the first party. I'd never been out before, and my mother, because I never get in trouble or anything like that, and I was very young, she allowed me to just go. And first time I ever been to a dance. But I have to tell you, this girl that I went with, she was much older than me, I suppose, so I had a boyfriend, and terrible things happened. And everything that I dreamt the night before, it came through that night.
Wow.
Everything.
Wow. Hey, Lynn, that's been happening all your life?
Well, it started at 11 years old. The Lord intervened in my life. I really I have to tell you, that's how I got my faith. My mother never went to church. But what happened was that we moved out into the country during the night, and we passed through a cemetery. And there I got possessed by some evil force.
Ooh.
And I was about 11 years old, and I never had a good night's sleep. I had the same dream over and over of a body under my bed, the same dream, and a candle in the corner of my house. And I was fearful, terrible. My mother had a real hard time with me. When I went to camp, though, everything was fine. I was rested. And that didn't follow me out there. But when I came back home, it did. And that's when it happened.
Well, let's get Cindy's take on all that. Lynn has said a lot there, Cindy. Maybe just some of your thoughts on what she was telling us.
Yeah, I think that if you dream something specifically like that, especially that significant of a life or a death, either one, you have a gift, and basically you're able to see or know things before they happen. And I believe that, it's something that this tells me about you, okay, more than about the content of your dream. It tells me about the kind of gift that you have, and that you were probably born with it. At 11 years old, it began to come alive. But at that time, something else tried to intercept or to, from, you said, a demon or some sort of something from the dark side tried to come in and intercept or take that road captive, okay? But I think that you said you got back on track, or you began to realize your understanding about, I guess, God intercepting your life. Is that what you were saying?
On my life. And
he
guided me that day to the first church I ever been. Yeah. I rushed home to my mother, and I said, I got to get back to that church, and that's how I made my first communion.
Yeah. And that changed your life, obviously. Yeah. Hey, Lynn, thanks so much for the call. We got to move on here because we're going to run out of time. This is Liz from New York. Hey, Liz, welcome to Beyond Reality Radio. You're on with Cindy McGill.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi,
Cindy.
How you doing?
I have a dream. It's been years, and it's reoccurring. And I'm 51 years old, and it's all back in the middle school.
Okay.
Scary, right? Yeah. It's kind of different at times, but it's always the same kind of thing.
Okay.
I'm coming down either a hallway or I'm coming up to a hallway that leads to the office, that leads to the doors outside. They're all glass.
Yep.
Technically, when I make the corner or I hit the bottom of the step to go to the bus, the buses start to take off, and they're all in a line. And then by the time I get to the doors, I think to myself, oh, crap, I got to go chase my bus down, which is the first one in line. And he's way across they're way across the whole parking lot, which is pretty big. And then I just resign myself to say, oh, crud, I got to walk home.
Yeah.
Which my house is probably 8 miles, if not more.
Yeah.
And then I just start walking
right?
up the country road.
Yeah. It's a reoccurring dream.
Or, oh, God, for years.
Yeah, yeah.
Buses.
And it's a middle school, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. It has to do with education. It has to do with something of something that you're learning or that you needed to learn, or God, I'm going to say that God is probably bringing something back to your mind that you were in a transition place. Hallways are transition places, and it gives you many doors of opportunity. But when you don't get the bus, you're learning something now, or there's something that you have access to that keeps coming back that says, I wanted to teach you this when you were in middle school. In other words, when you were that age, you were in between. And, in fact, middle school, I think, has a double meaning. You're in the middle of being it's a maturity factor. You're not young, but you're not old, in the middle there. And I think that there's some information, or there's some things that you are being given access to as it pertains to training or schooling or learning or something of education. That's why it was a school bus. That's why it was a school. That's why it was a middle school. That's why it keeps coming back, even though you're the age you are now. And so I would say just begin to put yourself in a place to receive the answer. What is it that I was going through in that transition time in my life when doorways were open or there were different doors I could have gone through? And what is it that you want me to learn now? And I think you'll even probably have a dream where you do get on the bus, where it's not going to be your human effort. It's not going to be that you have to walk home or you have miles and miles to go. I think that there'll be some sort of a dream that you'll have that will give you the answer and give you the education that you'll be able to get on the bus and learn that, or in that learning process.
Thanks for the
call. It's like life lessons.
Liz, thanks so much for the call. We appreciate you calling in. The number is 844-687-7669. We've got a bunch more people on hold, but we're going to take a quick break before we get to those calls. We've got a lot more to talk about.
Absolutely. You're listening to Jason and JV on Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's Beyond Reality Radio. Our guest tonight is Cindy McGill. We're talking about dream interpretation. We're actually taking your phone calls at 844-687-7669. Cindy's website is cindymcgill.org, and her book is What Your Dreams Are Telling You, Unlocking Solutions While You Sleep. And let's go to the phone lines. We want to get as many of these calls in as we can before we run out of time tonight. This is Chris in Louisiana. Hey, Chris, welcome to Beyond Reality Radio. You're on with Cindy McGill.
Hey, you guys. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Okay, so Cindy, so the dreams that I've been having, they're coming pretty often. They kind of die away and then they come back, and it's been a while. It's that I keep losing my cell phone and or my purse.
Yeah,
and I think it's either stolen or I've lost it and I can't find it. And it's always in a place where there's a lot of people, like I'm at an event or something's going on. And most of the time it's my phone. And it's like I know in some of the dreams I'm going, okay, I have my phone here and I need to watch it. Because as soon as somebody talks to me, I turn around and it's gone.
Right.
And then I have a dream that I'm dreaming that I'm losing the phone. And then I wake up from that dream going, that was odd. And I'm still dreaming.
Right.
And it's the same thing would happen again. So I don't know why I keep losing my things.
Yeah. You're in a transition season right now. And that's probably why you're having it, especially if are you having it now, or is this, you're having it right now. Is that correct? Like repetitively?
Yes, it was like 2 nights ago. It didn't happen last night, but it
has to do with your communication. That's what phones are. It gives us the ability to communicate or to correspond with one another. And there's a new level or a new way of communicating that you're going to be stepping into. When you lose your purse, it has your identity. It has something to do with that tells, your personal items and especially your identity. So there's something changing right now. There's a new phase of your life that you're coming into where you're going to have, and you said it's in a group of people, so that tells me that you almost like got a new assignment. It's going to require new communication, and it's going to require change on your part in order for you to step into a new understanding or broaden the understanding of who you really are. So it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, and it feels uncomfortable. It takes you out of your comfort zone. You feel like I'm careless or I'm not, paying attention, or I need to strive harder to hold on to something. But whenever you lose your phone or you lose especially your phone. It has to do with a new way of communicating, a new, and the people that you'll be around will be receptive to the way that you're communicating with them, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
don't be alarmed or afraid that, I'm just losing it, like I'm being very careless, and I know it's kind of a panic type situation, but I think it's transitional, and I think you're coming into a new season, and things are going to start to look a lot different for you in a good way.
Hey,
it's growing up.
Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for the call. We've got to go to break here, so we're going to have to let you go. We've got more calls, and we'll get to those on the other side of the break. Don't forget the number, 844-687-7669.
Again, that's toll-free at 844-687-7669. We're going to take a quick break. More to come. You're listening to Jason and JV on Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
In the meantime, we're talking with Cindy McGill, our guest of the evening. She's a dream interpreter. Her website is cindymcgill.org. Her book is called What Your Dreams Are Telling You, Unlocking Solutions While You Sleep. And we're going to go to our phone lines here because we are going to try to get everybody's phone call in if we can manage it with the time constraints we have here. But this is Lloyd from New York. Hey, Lloyd, welcome to Beyond Reality Radio. You're on with Cindy McGill.
Hey, how are you? Love the show and all that good stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lloyd. Welcome to the show.
Oh, excuse me. There.
What's on your mind?
Well, this stream's, I don't know, kind of straightforward, but there could be some other stuff in it. And it was from a number of years ago. I had a dream where my grandfather had died already. And couple of years later, whatever, where I met him, giving me a big hug and say, I forgive you, and I think it was about a particular argument we had. And we were at an old farmhouse, and there's a whole bunch of people around the corner that I'm pretty sure were his relatives. He wasn't my blood grandfather, but he's the only one I ever knew.
Okay. Yeah. That usually, I'm going to say closure. Oftentimes, when people pass away and we've had conflict or we haven't resolved certain issues or things that have happened, their memory, I don't think it's them. I just think it's their memory, or something comes up in us that says, I've got to resolve this. And I feel like, it's kind of making amends. It's like giving you peace and giving you closure and giving you a space to move on. And because it was your grandfather, it's something also, was he your biological grandfather, or was he just, you said, the grandfather you knew?
Yeah, no, it wasn't biological, but, he's the only one I grew up with.
Yeah. And I think probably there's some things that he invested in you and taught you when he was living. And I believe that, there's some really great principles that he's instilled in you, or instruction that he gave you. And it feels to me like that may be coming back even for you now to give to another generation. So I think it's a healing thing. It's a forgiveness thing. It brings release to you. And it kind of really puts you in a really positive space to be able to move on and not have anything holding you back from investing in the next generation. I like the fact that it was a farmhouse, or it was a ranch or something like that. You think it was family-oriented. So it has to do with something that you've been entrusted with now to give to family, or to bring it back grassroots, which is a really great thing. And people need that right now, especially the younger generation, wisdom that was given to you. So,
Lloyd, thanks so much for the phone call. We appreciate it. Let's go to Brad in North Carolina. Hey, Brad, you're on with Cindy McGill. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. By the way, awesome bumper music.
Thank you.
Keep it up. I need a soundtrack. And I have two very strong memories from my early childhood that I can still remember vividly to this day, partly because I believe that I did not grow up in the most stable happy, tranquil family life. And one of them was flying in the backyard, literally me up in the air, flying, doing loop-de-loops over the laundry line. And then on the opposite side of that, being chased in a jungle by a jaguar or some big panther. And having, listened to the show and just, finally having thought about it, one is escape and happy to be escaping, and the other one is dealing with the stress of, less than happy childhood.
Yeah. I think that the flying part, especially when you're younger, you're just able to live above it. You're just able to live and see from a different perspective. You're not involved in it. You're in a different level. You like you said, maybe escaping, but I think beyond that, you're still enjoying your innocence and your childhood, despite your circumstances. Jaguars chasing you through a jungle or that kind of thing, oftentimes those could be predatory, or they could be something that you have fear about, but it's actually propelling you or making you run into your future and into your destiny. So the very thing that was meant to come and try and destroy you or take you down is actually pushing you in to your positive future in an overcoming way. Like you're not going to be subjected, or you're not going to have, these threats and fears trying to take you down. You'll be running and moving forward and really hitting it hard as you overcome the situation. And, your life lessons have taught you a lot of things, good and bad, but you're going to take the positive and be able to really to advance in your future. So
that's so true. And yes, finally, I was never caught by the cat.
Yeah,
but I am a Clemson Tiger.
That's right.
That's good news. Hey, Brad, thanks for the call. And Cindy, I've got to occupy the last couple minutes here we have with you because I have a question that's kind of personal for me. I lost both of my parents within the last 3 years. And a day doesn't go by that I don't think about them. And they were both tragic deaths, not accidents, but illness. And, I was with them during the last months of their lives and watched them suffer. And so it was very traumatic. And I've been looking forward. I appreciate that. But I've been looking forward to having a lot of dreams about them. Again, I think about them every day, but the dreams have been very, very rare. What's going on? I feel like I should be dreaming about them more.
Yeah, well, I think you probably will, honestly. I think that, they did make a huge impact in your life, and you were very closely connected with them. And I think that you're probably just in a process right now. I know my dad actually died on Christmas Eve, and this was several years ago, back in 2000. And I think I didn't have a dream about him until maybe 2006 or 7. And when I did, it was a healing moment for me. It was a time of realizing all the things that he did for me. He was always a provider. And so he came to me in that way. In fact, I was needing a car, and he said to me, "What kind of car do you need?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, here we go again." So I feel like you're probably in a process. I think that your grieving is different for everyone, but I believe that you will actually have dreams about your parents again, and I think it's going to be a kind of a milestone moment for you where you're going to overcome the grief of it and enjoy the memories of it, Well,
I'm looking forward to that point. My sister's already there. I'm looking forward to it as well. Cindy, we're out of time. I appreciate so much your insight and the discussions, and I know that all of our listeners do as well. Remember, the website is cindymcgill.org. And anything else you want to send people to or let people know about?
I think the website's going to do it. We're going to try and get some more information up, some more clips of dreams that we actually go on the street and interpret. And we're looking at, trying to put a YouTube channel together where we can go out and have some footage of so many different kinds of dreams that people have, because oftentimes, dreams other people have register in the hearts of people who have very similar dreams. So that would be the best way to go, is to go to the website. And just to say Merry Christmas to you guys, and that, I'm really looking forward to a bright future for a lot of us as we're in change and transition and new assignments and coming into a brand new spot, I think. So, and I always appreciate being on here. You guys are great.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy, and we look forward to talking to you again in the near future. You have a great holiday as well, and we'll talk to you again.